Hey there, NFT and digital collectible collectors. Want to stay connected and never miss an episode? Make sure to follow us on all major platforms, whether you're into NFT educational content, thought provoking discussions, or interviews with movers and shakers. Our podcast has it all. Join our growing community of listeners and be part of the conversation. Click like, follow, and subscribe wherever our social channels are, and please share with your friends. Hey, Lemonhaze, it's a pleasure to have you on today. We're going to be talking art on Bitcoin, and you're just one of the artists that have caught my eye from the style of your work to the fact that you're doing some interesting things on Bitcoin. I have with ordinals. Why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit and let me know, let our audience know just who you are. And I guess the first question is, why be an artist on Bitcoin?
Well, first off, thanks for having me today. I think it's very cool to have a chance to share more about myself and my work. Well, who am I? I'm a 30-something digital artist. Basically, uh, I'm someone like who basically have been making art throughout my life at a different stage, and I sort of see, and I would say, a great lifetime opportunity, if I can say this way when the ordinal protocol was presented to the community, and it just really I would say checked the box with me on my personal, I would say, value, where I like a lot Bitcoin, as a currency and everything it means. And on the art side, it was like just a really cool I would say approach to immutability of the digital art. And I think this is something that is really important when it comes to digital art. So I felt like it was a great mix for me, if I may say.
If you don't mind sharing a little bit about your background, Lemonhaze, what can you tell us?
Well, how can I put this? Growing up, I would say from 3 years old to 17, I was mostly considered as a hockey player, basically. Although, when I was 16, one of my last year in high school, actually in the province of Quebec, I had the chance to be in the art program for that year. So I did acting, all kind of visual art, video art as well. And I sort of, I would say, it was sort of a revelation to me that how much I really took this seriously. And so from there, I sort of carry this in my life at some point. And at 20 years old, one day I just arrived and like I listened to the old discography of the Beatles, and I was like, I think like I want to be a rock star. Like obviously it's a big dream. It's big ambition. But like from that moment, I bought a guitar, and like I started to learn by myself how to play guitar, and I played like basically all my 20s. I played a lot of music, and then I sort of graduated into making electronic music and all those kind of stuff. And at some point, when I was 26, I sort of went, I would say, like you get to a certain age and you realize, like, of course, the dream of making art for a living. And like, during that same time I was doing music, I was also painting a lot. And so, but I sort of had to make a decision to sort of more, I would say, focus on, I would say, a career that is more, I would say, realistic, maybe in some way. And so for the following 5 years, I sort of traveled. I did a kind of a digital nomad lifestyle, if I may say. And it's during those years that I sort of fell in love with Bitcoin and everything it meant, from the white paper to like just to what it represents. And like it was also I would say a mentality shift for me in a way, because I saw it sort of opened myself to other things that I was not clearly, I would say, seeing before. So it was sort of a big life-changing period in my life. And then at some point, I always kept on making art, but without doing it, I would say, like full time every day. But like when the ordinal movement came, I had some collection I had done like a year before. A collection. I didn't call it this way at the time, right? It was just art in a folder in my computer among other piece of art I've done. But I sort of, I would say, seized the opportunity to sort of try more, right? something I rarely talk about, but like in the past, like in 2020, I have actually released 3 of my work on Rarible on Ethereum. So like I wasn't entirely new to I would say the idea of sharing my art publicly on blockchain, but I never went through at the time. But this time with Ordinal, it was just too beautiful.
Ah, I love the way you put that. There's something must have resonated with you that you made you just kind of jump with 2 feet in. And I've seen that. Like what inscription number was your earliest?
Well, the earliest of my first, I would say, official collection was 12,136. So basically, like if you look at my profile or the way I would say I present myself is like I'm Lemonhaze and I'm inscribing my art since 12,136. But technically, I do have 2 other inscriptions that were inscribed. They were basically a profile picture of alt account I had on Twitter at the moment, and I just gave it to some internet friends. I sent them in DM because I wasn't near my gear to sort of be able to inscribe myself. So I just sent them the photo, and I was like, can you inscribe this for me sub 10K? Because I really sort of, when it happened, it was so fast, right? Like in a couple of days, I think it went from 5,000 to 12, 13,000, and then it kind of went very quick. But like, so I just sent the image, and so I have a couple of inscriptions that are in the 7,000, but they are not my artwork, right? Like they are just random internet image, if I may say.
Well, congrats on even getting to 12,000. That is quite a feat. And like you said, it's I remember that time. And well, actually, I don't. I think I was more around when it was around 30 to 40, 50K around there.
Still pretty early.
Yeah, especially how quick people move. And,
Yeah.
it was like a snowball rolling down a hill, right? At that point,
Yeah.
started off really small and just kind of built up momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a, looking back at it, it's pretty sort of a, you're looking back at it and it's like it grows so much since that time, right? And like things were different, right? Like even like the vibe, like with the kind of art that was being put out and like all these things, like it really evolved quickly. And like this space, as we know, it's like it's like one day is 1 week is 1 month is 1 year, right? It's the meme, we're growing old in this space.
Yeah. What is so you said you had some art on Rarible, and so you're definitely familiar with the Ethereum ecosystem. What's different, in your opinion, about this protocol, Bitcoin, and how is it? I guess technically there's some differences, right? Like Bitcoin does not have smart contracts. What is the, in your opinion, the pros and cons, and what advice would you give to new artists considering the 2 different venues or protocols?
That's a good question. The way I see it is that, like, obviously, I think both sort of offer their own sort of feature, but ultimately, I think there are some core values that for some they might be negotiable, I would say, and for me maybe they are not, right? And it's like like immutability and like these are like just core principle of basically of Bitcoin that now they can be applied to, let's say, digital art. And this is what I really find like it's a major difference. And it's also like the fact of dealing with Bitcoin. I prefer Bitcoin over Ethereum, right? Like I tried a bit of everything, but ultimately like I'm more of a Bitcoin guy. So like for me, just even like just I would say working in Bitcoin is just more pleasant. But otherwise, like for artists, I would say it's really about like it depends also, the kind of art you have to make. Because for example, there are currently limitations to what you can put out on Bitcoin. And so in my case, I sort of at some point I started to because the fee were so high at some point, and I sort of look at it a different way. I was like, I need to try different ways to make art to actually fit the way it works on Bitcoin, because like it's not going to work if I have to pay $200 every time I want to inscribe a piece, right? So like it's all these kind of things that you have to take into consideration, and that sometimes it can require some adjustment as an artist to sort of I would say look at it from different perspective. But like ultimately I think a lot of what is on Ethereum right now will at some point come to ordinals. And it's still fairly early, the ecosystem. So in that regard, like I'm not stressed, but I think overall, like, it's on chain, right? Like we already know on Ethereum that what is on chain is sort of a, I would say that it has a premium, it has a little more, it's more interesting than an IPFS link,
Hmm.
obviously. And so I think Bitcoin offers this, like, it's sort of a no-brainer. Like sometimes for me it looks obvious, and like it's so like it can be hard to explain also why, right?
I totally get what you mean. And the one thing, like I was, for example, I had a piece of art on Ethereum last night, and I've always uh, thought of that piece of art as like, I will never sell this piece. And then, I went and I looked at the webpage and what it was pointing to for the image, and it was a proxy to an IPFS link. And I was like, man, I don't think the image itself could have been any more beautiful. I love that image. But the fact of I was just owning, like the image wasn't on chain. And that made me kind of want to sell it, to be honest. And I think I did pull the trigger on it. So that was a big deal for me. And yeah, did that resonate with you at all?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I do have, I do collect, right, some NFT from Ethereum from a few years ago, right, already, and I totally feel you about it, right? Like it's sometimes like you realize that it's not like you can lose it in the future, right? It's not as guaranteed like in the future, so it's sort of put everything back into question, right?
Yeah, okay. Um, what about royalties, Lemonhaze? Like, as an artist, you're obviously trying to possibly make a living out of this. Is it possible without having royalties and smart contracts?
Well, the first thing is, I would say, is it possible? I would say I don't know, because for me, the idea of, I would say, making money out of my art is technically fairly new in a way, if I in certain way, and so like I don't have a lot to sort of compare to personally, but like I have said in the future, and like I understand like why some want royalties, some don't want it, and like personally, I choose that I want less headache personally as an artist, and so I know I cannot control that. Ultimately, like it's gonna be a headache to try to enforce it all the time, and so I choose to just build sort of the way I release my art, the way I price my art to begin with, and all those little things in that. And like sometimes like I may keep a few pieces. Like obviously, I keep a few pieces in my collection. It's obviously not to, like, let's say, sell it at the floor if I need money because I don't have royalty, but like it's just that I just approach it differently. And I think, like, I have some collector that they came to my DM, a few of them actually. Then they said, like, I know you don't have royalty, because basically I tweeted this like months ago, like in the month of March, I tweeted that, like, I'm never gonna put royalty like officially or anything, because first I cannot enforce them. And so for me, like my royalty is like, it's sort of, my name, persisting through time. So like basically if someone sell my artwork, let's say tomorrow, for a huge profit, a huge amount of money, well, that promotion, this is my royalty, right?
Mm,
This is going to benefit me in the long term. And if someone buys something for $500 from me, and in 10 years they sell it for 10 million, and they feel like they want to give me a tip, then they're gonna do it by themselves, right? And if they don't, they don't. And it, like, I choose to not, let's say, like, I choose not to fight this, and just, you know arrange myself in a way that I'm comfortable without it. And if I get something at some point, it's a bonus, right? This is how I see it personally. But like, I know many artists might not like what I say right now, and I think there's different approach to this, I guess. And so that's how I
I
see it personally.
I think that's a great way. I think it reading between the lines, it feels like you have a real passion for creating the art, and anything else is kind of like a bonus in my. It's kind of what I'm getting.
Yeah, well, it is like, basically, that's the thing, like, I'm obviously extremely grateful to realize that I've been literally paying my bill with this. Like, obviously, like, now I live in Mexico, so it's, maybe I couldn't live in Canada right now with this, or in the US, but like, I live in Mexico. And so for me, I'm sort of very grateful, and like, I'm living a dream. And it's like, like, I'm pitching myself like almost every day. I'm like, this can, maybe tomorrow I never make any other sale. Like, I don't know how it can be. So I'm just enjoying the moment, and I'm really grateful. And like, ultimately, like you said, it's not gonna change. Like, whether Bitcoin disappear tomorrow, I'm still going to make art.
Mhm.
If it's not digitally, I'm going to paint physically. I'm going to make music. Like, it's just like how I do, how I am. Like months ago, I was telling my girlfriend, I go again, like, oh, I wish like I could be an actor, right? Like, because it's sort of a childhood dream to be an actor in movies. So like, it's all those things that like it's not gonna change. Yeah, like you say, for me, it's really about the passion. That's what I like to do. So like, I'm sort of, and like, I'm also a big Bitcoin guy. For the past 5-6 years, it has taken a big part of my life. And so to mix the two together, it is really like, I have everything at the same place. So my life, my work, my passion, and like, so it's really cool, to be honest.
That's awesome to hear how everything has worked out for you there. Let's talk about your work, Lemonhaze. You said you also produce electronic music or music. Did you ever think of putting that on chain as well as your visual pieces?
Good question. I haven't thought it. Well, I mean, I briefly thought about it, but the truth is, I'm doing much less music for the past, I would say, 4 or 5 years for sure. Although I released like a track recently, so like it's not. I would say it's less of a priority, but it's the kind of thing that I don't force it. I don't think about it, but I'm sure at some point in my life I will start to I will be obsessed with music for I guess for some period of time, and maybe at this point I will be looking to maybe put something on chain. So
Yeah.
that's definitely an option in the future. But yeah,
The one thing I do like about your collections and how you've organized the pieces that you've put out there, they're in small, I guess, series
yeah, yeah. That's how I like
collections,
to call it. Yeah.
and the series or the collection ranges, their supply ranges are as small as I think maybe like 6, and they go to 25. Is that about right?
I think, yeah, like I think there may be some even series with 3 pieces. So I guess from 3 to 25, it's the average. Obviously, I have like one slightly bigger collection, Portrait 2490, which was done very early, like I think in the 300K range. This has 90 pieces, but other and like today I released a card, the it's a Satoshi card with counterfeit culture, and this one has a 130 card. Uh, I mean, it sold out in 2 minutes. It was crazy. Just before we jump on this together, but yeah, usually I keep it small. I keep it small. I like it this way because it's sort of, let's say I start my week. It's an example. It's obviously not strict like that, but I start my week on Monday, and then uh, I get onto something and I work this, and I maybe that week I make 3, 4, 5 piece, and that's my series, right? And next week I guess I feel like I want to explore something else, and then I get on another topic, another team, and that's why I sort of work in small series and all.
That is so cool. And I get it. It's just, I guess, as an artist, you also like to explore different topics and feelings, I guess, that you have within you that you're wanting to express. And sometimes, I guess you're a one of a kind sort of artist, so you're creating nothing generative yet or in mass, but you're just doing them one piece by one piece. Is that sort of like
Yeah,
accurate?
well, at the moment, that's pretty much it. Yeah, most of the pieces are crafted one on one, and like nothing is, I would say, mass produced. Like obviously, like I put out a few generative collection lately, so these I kept the supply fairly small, but obviously I could have made way more if I wanted to, in a way, because it's sort of in the algorithm. But yeah, usually they were end selected. By the way, they were end selected. But obviously, in the future, that's one of my goals, though, to sort of make a bigger generative collection that is all on chain and all sort of randomly like choose by the hash of the inscription and so on. So like this is what I'm working on now. It's gonna take a little while because it's a bit more advanced, I would say. But yeah, that's part of that's how I work usually.
Cool. And I know recently, I think I saw you've sold out your Gentleman collection, which is, I guess, your PFP official, non-officially, but or officially, I don't know, but it's what you use as your PFP. And I know probably up to about a week ago, you still had a few of those available, and now they've sold out. Tell me about Gentleman.
Yeah. Well, Gentleman is one of my first, I would say, collection series, and it's definitely one I would say that is core to. I don't want to say my brand, but it's definitely core to me in a way because, like you said, I would say it's unofficially my PFP collection because I regard it as art maybe first, but it's also usable for PFP. So I think it's a, and I also personally make the distinction with I would say Gentleman and my other work because it's like you said, it's a PFP, and this idea came in the month of March. I was sort of in a spot, and basically, I think that the description of the collection is pretty self-explanatory, but it relates basically to situation in my life with my girlfriend and just how I want to improve as a person. And I think it's an idea and a concept that technically everyone can relate to in a way or another, like both male and female, right? And so I sort of built the artwork on this theme, and then on a more I would say technical level, I sort of inscribed them. I would say as I felt like it, right, little by little throughout the time, and they were available to sell like on demand. So like people could come to my website and ask me, and little by little I inscribe and I sold some and I inscribe, and like recently I sort of inscribed the last 5 or 6. So the supply came at 25, and then I think there was a few I would say interest like with the momentum lately. So like people are started to noticing, and I was super happy to get this one sold out and sort of have a bigger range of people to connect with and all.
Yeah, and I do know that people collect this. I was in a Discord, and somebody mentioned, "Oh, I have Gentleman. It's awesome. Lemonhaze is great." So your name is definitely getting out there and around the ecosystem, and congrats on that. And I would have to say, as preparation for this episode, I know I've been talking to you back and forth about this for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
I've been monitoring, I guess, your Magic Eden page where you link to all your pieces, and they've reduced the number quite a bit. Does that mean that those have been sold, or are you putting those
Oh,
off the market?
no, that's good. I actually, I used to. I have my wallet where I usually inscribe everything from there, and I put everything there. And this is where everything was for a long while. But like the past, I think it was last week or a few days ago actually, I sort of move what is not for sale and what is not for sale now in the short term. So I sort of moved all to cold storage, just for a safety reason. Like I realize like you go to minting page, it starts to, I don't want accident to happen, so I prefer to. So I had to move them to this, and I kept the other wallet just for more I would say, which is available for now. But yeah, like you notice, if you notice. I actually moved some stuff to a vault which is not for sale, basically, because I realize, or there's some series also, like discography or world tour. There are some fragmented series that they depict write album cover that I sort of I do my own take on them in my own style, and like they are album that I listen throughout my life. But like there's so many of them, and like I haven't done enough yet. So like I sort of put it unavailable until like I don't know, I get my supply to where I want it to be. And same thing with world tour, like I have only like 5 or 6 flag done so far, but like I travel some 20 countries, so I need to do that work, and like I want to sort of finish all that, but I don't want to rush it either, so I leave it aside just to keep things clean, basically.
That's great. So I guess what I'm hearing is it's good news that you're being secure, and also not everything is sold out. So I still may have a chance to collect some pieces.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I would keep on making work, right? Like obviously, like there has been phases where I've done like the work like I'm almost inscribing every day, right? Depending on what I'm working on. But like now with the generative stuff, like especially what I want to do is more of a long form sort of generative art, and so I'm not going to start, like, I'm not inscribing daily, although I'm working every day on it. So it's kind of a different process, but it will come all at once at some point, and there will be something, I guess, for sure.
Sounds good. What are the tools that you use in creating your pieces? If you would like to share, you don't have to.
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. I mean, I think. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't share all the way exactly I use them, but like I use like a Krita software. It's an old classic digital drawing software. Among other, I use this fairly often. I would say I use a variety of different AI. Also, lately, I'm doing. I would say for the past 2 or 3 months now, although I have released some other stuff, I have mostly been working on generative art. So I've been mostly with P5GS, like learning to code, and like it's a I had some basic obviously, but like it's still I'm still a long way, and I'm learning. So this is taking a lot of my time. But yeah, for the tool I'm using Krita, I use AI, I use some variety of collage, Inkscape. I use a few software, like a different software. Sometimes Photoshop, like more rarely, but still sometimes. So it's a variation of the other. And like the other day, I mentioned when I use AI, for example, in many cases, it's not. I don't use AI the same obvious way that many people might see it. You see AI piece, you expect to see like the perfect. Realistic photo. Me, it's more I use sometimes element of the AI. What maybe it's something in the composition or something. I was just let's say sample the color palette, for example. So like at the end, sometimes I'm not even using the AI image. I'm just using some feature here and there to make my thing by myself after. So like it's a really a mix of using all those tools in no specific order, right? It's really about experimenting, and there's a lot of back and forth. To sort of iterate what I want, and there's a lot of that, I would say.
Wow, yeah, no, that's very informative, and thanks for that. I think my last episode was with an artist who we also talked about AI, and we came to the conclusion, like, yeah, there's definitely going to be ways that you know prospective artists out there can use AI to do a lot of the heavy lifting for them. But in the end, it comes down to the process and your story and meaning behind the art, more than really just making something purely visually appealing alone. So glad to hear that you're just using it as a tool and to help you get to where you need to go.
Exactly. I think it's the key, right? I think it should be this for basically every tool, right? It's not to limit yourself as an artist into just let's say, or you start maybe you can sketch with the AI, but then you end up drawing what the AI sketched for you. But like, so there's obviously difference between the two, but it's an interesting process. It's an interesting way to sort of take inspiration, or compose, like the way to place the element on the canvas. And these are all subtlety that are very interesting to play with without using like straight out an AI image, right? Like there's a lot of things that can be done, and I think that's, for me, that's what I find interesting, like more than the people looking for a perfect clean thing. This is not personally my thing, so I try to use it differently. Yeah.
Lemonhaze, what are you excited about coming up in the fall, the Q4 here this year? And that question, I guess, is both personally and also with the technology as well. Like, what are you looking forward to?
In terms of technology, obviously, I'm very happy with the direction that the space has taken recently. I would say in terms of art, of trying to sort of build infrastructure for artists, like what Gamma did, for instance, or counterfeit culture. Otherwise, in September, I have been invited. Actually, it's in 2 weeks. I'm not going to be there physically, but a few of my pieces from my collection, my latest series, basically old fashioned, they're going to be exhibited in Singapore at the Ordinal Summit. So this is, I think, on September 12th. And then there's obviously, I'm still thinking about going Amsterdam, Ordinal Inscribe Amsterdam, I think it's called, in October. This I need to check because budget and all, but this is something I'm looking maybe forward to go, or at least to sort of hear feedback from, to get some news around the space. And yeah, otherwise just focusing on my work, and be ready for when, let's say, I would say the missing parts are ready, right?
Cool. Thanks for that. Where can people catch up with you? Your website is buylemonhaze.xyz. What is your Twitter?
My Twitter is my website is obviously like the place I usually refer to people to go, because I think it's a good way to see all in one place with all the information, all the links to go to the marketplace and all. Otherwise, my Twitter is obviously my biggest communication channel. It's Ordinals 10K. So yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure to speak to you today and also learn about yourself, your background, and what excites you about ordinals and your art. And it was a pleasure meeting you, Lemonhaze.
All right, thank you much, Yohann. I'm really happy that you invited me on this today.